me.
There we go.
The artist and musician from Berlin. And basically, I think everyone more or less know about me, about my educational activity, but basically that is my studio. And since TouchDesigner got more and more advanced in the sense of sound creation, I was logically very interested about the possibilities. And I think most important improvement in my career was started after I got the amazing sound card called ES8 Expert Slippers, which gave me possibility to output directly the signals from TouchDesigner to the modular system. What I managed to prepare, because it was a huge plan, but I just bring some different experiences I made with TouchDesigner in the sense of sound creation and sound control. I decided more or less to avoid topic of VST because it's everyone explained it already. So basically, that's a kind of very typical TouchDesigner sequencer I made. In some moment, I started to develop my own utilities for TouchDesigner, so that's kind of very basic sequencer. Actually, first I developed that sequencer for light control because I was invited to make a movie installation in Moscow club in 2012. They did that because that's, I think, is a funny concept, because here you can record the mouse movement or touch screen movement, and then every time that red circle meets the ball, it reads a number and converts it to the note. So that sequencer reads the length of animation of recording. So you can control the rotation speed, control the playback speed of recorded animation and amplitude of rotation. So that's kind of experimental sequencer, which can produce very interesting results. Okay, that's the second thing I wanted to show you. Then I have to tell some story that some years ago we started to experiment a lot with my friend Valentin Zin, who is a Buto performer. That was the moment I bought the Expert Slippers 8 sound card, which is very special and super expensive. And what is special there? If you want to control analog synthesizer, you have possibility of two choices. You can do it with MIDI or you can do it with control voltage. And in case of MIDI, everything is clear, but MIDI has very bad quality of signal because it's 8-bit. And analog signal has much bigger resolution. And why it's not possible with typical sound cards? That's not possible because, for example, imagine we have a sound card. It has 0 decibel, and then we have some wave which is going typically until 1 and -1, which is a normal undistorted sound range. And in case we're going to work with control voltage, we can easily have a static signal which is going something around +5 volt, which will in several milliseconds destroy any sound system. Because of that, in almost all sound cards, built-in special filters which cut off this kind of signal. That's called DC filter. And all typical sound cards, they have AC signal, which is a changing voltage on the sound frequencies. So in order to output signal to the analog synthesizer, you basically need sound card where there is no DC filter. And that's not existing. But some UK company called Expert Sleeper started to develop this cool concept. And in some moment, for my performances, I started not to use any other sound cards because it produces very good sound quality. It can output until 16 channels of sound separately to the as a sound or as a control voltage signal. So after I got it, my first idea was, okay, I have Kinect, I have Expert Sleepers. Theoretically, I can do interactive music. And first, what I made, I called my friend Valentin Zin, who is a top performer, a guy who was working in film production and in different theaters since a very long time. And I told him, let's make some art piece together. And we started to research this topic, and that took us around 1 year, maybe. We already made some small workshops in Berlin. We don't present it as performance yet in Berlin. And that was very interesting because starting from the very basic idea like body theremin, which everyone nerd already made, like I have my arm, which can change the pitch. That's all. That is kind of a bit boring. I changed the pitch by movement of the hand. So we started from not going this way, and we decided to make very special targets of our performance. First, that all music created in interactive way should have very different musical structure and should be very predictable in some sense. So it should be musical. Then we wanted to change the structure of music during the time. And yeah, we spent a lot of time researching that. On the end, I developed kind of software. I wanted to show you that software today, but I think because of technical reasons, it will be not really possible, but I show at least the user interface. So that is router where I got different signals from Kinect, and then I can decide what kind of signal I want to output to the physical output of ES8. And I have 16 of them. So I can change the ranges, I can quantize the signal, invert the signal, mix it with some other signal. And that gave us a possibility to make very interesting things. For example, instead of just controlling things like pitch, we can analyze the distance of different body parts to some physical or virtual points, or analyze intensity of sound, for example, intensity of body movement, for example, and produce musical triggers by that. So, for example, I can choose max hand acceleration, and if I start to move my hands very intensively, so I think I should be here in the screen in some easy visualization. So if I make very fast hand movements, I can produce some sound. And I have a preset manager here. And also the target was that during the performance, I should change all routing on the modular system. So basically, it's kind of preset manager for the modular system made in TouchDesigner with different interactive possibilities. What I can show you, I can show some short movies about that performance. So that was the first movie we created. I hope it will be playback.
Quickly go over what's happening there?
Yeah, I mean, I show how the body creates sound. I show the analysis in TouchDesigner and the sound created by the movie of Valentin, who is dancing in front of Kinect. Maybe I tell some ideas behind. So first, we wanted to work in analog completely. So basically, TouchDesigner was only interface between digital sensors and analog synthesizers. Logically, we have latency. Logically, everyone wants to avoid latency, but in our case, it came somehow to the point that we realized that it's kind of philosophical question, because body moving and creating the sound, which comes several milliseconds later, and then we have a question: what is affecting the sound? The sound created by the body or body creating the sound? Because we have latency. So that was very interesting artistic research, I think. Then we made around 6 musical parts in that performance, and tried completely different approaches for creating sound from the body movement, including like Buto concept. The intensive movement don't create any sound, and if person stops, we have a wall of sound running. That's why actually the performance is called singularity, because we coming to the point that all creation of music inverts. Then we decided, obviously, don't to make any visuals in that performance. because body is kind of enough, but we used 6 lights and 2 lasers, which were tracked by the body movement from TouchDesigner. So that was the first performance we made. Then I was working for some production with Berlin Theater, also with interactive sensors. I can even show them. I hope. Basically, they looks like simple clock. It's called Mixtic. It's firma from Switzerland producing them. Not so good because they only makes relative rotation, and it was not so easy to create performance with the ballet dancers who has actually no experience to improvise. So basically in this performance, okay, I play back now just like a reference without the sound, so you can see what happens there. In that performance, we created both music and visuals interactively. 1 second. Yeah. And we tried to make it completely interactive. That was not working with performers because for them, it was no timing or reference point how to understand where the artistical parts are changing, where the sound will change. On the end, we found a way that basically for make efficient performance with interactive part, we still need to make kind of arrangement in Ableton, which was from one hand giving the performers the reference point of different events, then the sound was changing, then the performers part was changing. From our hand, it was controlling TouchDesigner back using traditional TD Ableton way. And now I will try to load that Ableton project. On the end, that was also a problem with these sensors because that sensors working on Bluetooth as MIDI devices, and during the performance they several times disconnected. So we needed to make kind of plan B, how to avoid that situation that the people in the theater don't see that everything is not working. So in the end, we made several rehearsals, recorded the full MIDI data, which I used also as a reference for creating visuals. And then we made 2 projects with a switch. So we were able with one button and TouchDesigner switch the source of sound for interactive instruments. That was either live input from the sensors or pre-recorded MIDI data. And here I used all cool possibilities of TD Ableton because, for example, instead of doing MIDI notes which control what kind of performances here, I used, for example, these markers. So TD Ableton always returns that markers in arrangement. I made a very detailed different animation transition from generative animations. So basically that was really, really well anticipated performance. However, I spent for that actually on the end, after half of year of rehearsals, I spent only 5 days. And after that, I just gave the 2 computers to the guys in theater and left from Berlin. So it was working for several performances without the problems. So that's kind of experience I made that for qualitative performance, you need to make the storyline And for that, Ableton is an amazing tool because you can make the animation of different automations. You can put markers, you can put MIDI notes, and still you can have enough space for the interactive part. So that's kind of hybrid approach, which we also decided to use later for our performance with Valentin. Why I turned back to that, first I want to make just small announcement that we got invited to live performers meeting in Münster. And if someone is in Europe and will come to that event, we will do a 4 days workshop. And we developed kind of very interesting topic for that workshop, because we will not just teach how to make music with TouchDesigner, interactive sensors, whatever. We will teach speak not only how to create visuals with that, because we made already a lot of different experiences for making interactive visuals with Kinect, but we want also to bring some performance practice for us, for nerds, because we are typically always looking to computer and not really playing with people on the dance floor or like in gallery, and also for people who creating interactive visuals or whatever. I think it's very interesting to understand the brain of performer. So that will be like a different aspects of performance what we want to make in this workshop. That's just a small announcement. It's easy to find on a live performance meeting website. So I don't know if I spend too much of time.
Oh, like thanks a lot for sharing that. I especially like seeing like how detailed, like in what way you prepared for that show with Ableton, with all the animation curves and everything. You know, like explaining, preparing it in such a way. I don't know. I've never seen anything like that. Like, you know, anything
I
perfectly
think
timed.
maybe add some last sentence about that, because if you look to the cool performances, like best one made from, I don't know, Ryohei Ikeda or Rishi Kurakawa,
Yeah.
The thing is that it's not only brilliant generative visuals, but it has story, it has conflict, it has all that theatrical part, and that is possible only because of details. And if you do completely generative graphics, you cannot create these details. It's impossible. So,
yeah.
And without these details, it's fucking boring. So it's like, doesn't matter how nice the visuals are, if it doesn't tell the story and make people react emotionally, then it's just nothing. So that was really first performance in my life where I realized it myself and found a way how to implement it on the stage.